call her a friend. Little history. Nicole and we met during a business venture some years ago. And just getting to know her and getting to understand her passion and understanding her knowledge base, I will say that once you meet Nicole, you feel the energy. So we had to have her as a speaker here at Indian River State College. We are excited to have you. And I'm going to let her tell her story. But again, I just want to share with you, Nicole, I thank you for your friendship and for your professionalism and what you bring to the entrepreneurship community and just being a delightful young lady. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Strather. Appreciate the invitation. And thank you also, Dr. Brown, for the invitation to speak to the Indian River State College community, business community, entrepreneurs, and students. It's such a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm Nicole Valentine, and I'd love to just give you a preview of how I'd like to set up the conversation for this evening. The first part of the conversation is about knowing yourself as a business owner, as a business leader, as a member of the business community. The second part of the conversation is going to be about knowing the market, understanding the markets in which we're in. And the third part of the conversation is about growing your business in these markets and knowing your business. So just starting out with knowing yourself, I'll use this opportunity to share some information about myself and also give you an opportunity to think about yourself, right? Think about the kind of business person you are, what strengths you bring to the table, what's your story, right? So my story is I was born into a family of small business owners. My grandmother was a tailor maid, and a tailor maid, I don't even know if people know what tailor maids are, but she made men's suits. You know, she tailored their suits. And in her day, tailoring and the textile industry was really strong in the United States. It's changed. I mean, a lot of that has been shipped overseas, but there was a time where textile industry was very strong, and my grandmother was a part of it. She had her own shop. She started her business when she was over 50 years old. She started her business after my grandfather passed away, and she decided she was going to have a shop. She was the first Black woman to have a shop in a mini mall in her town in New Jersey. And she opened up her tailor-made shop. And as a little girl, I would go there and she would try to teach me how to sew. And I wanted to play with the cash register. And I wanted to just stay on the cash register and collect the money and give the tickets and find the ticket number and greet the, customers and shake everyone's hands and give the lollipops out. Like, that's what I wanted to do. So, I look back and I wish I learned how to sew, because I love fashion and I love, the fact that, you can really just be a creator that way. But as a child, that's the part of the business that I gravitated to. And so, just being, having exposure to that, I think has shaped me in terms of the value that I put on customer service, the value that I put on making sure that your customer is satisfied. So if someone says, why do you care so much about the customer? Why do you care if the customer is smiling? Why do you care if the customer is satisfied? Well, I would say that I was born into that, right? I saw that, and it was a part of the spark of my business journey. And so I would say that my next chapter in business was my parents. My parents started a business when I was a teenager. I was going from 8th grade to 9th grade. And so both of my parents started a childcare center, a daycare center at our church. Our church had an educational wing, and they built a very amazing school in that wing. They served thousands of families. They went from one school to 3 schools in the community. Their award-winning early education center. Each school had amazing, reputation, as well as at the time that they were building their schools, there also was opportunity for government contracts. And so they had government contracts with the state of New Jersey, and they were able to be very profitable in that space. And so as a teenager, I was in charge of the summer camp, and that was my project. So as a business owner, my parents gave me opportunity to own a piece of the business, to own a business line. I was the business, the business line was summer camp. And so that was my experience. And so in that, I learned the value of creating services and products that have sustainability, but also seasonal, right? Seasonal opportunities. So summer camp, those are things that are seasonal, but they can bring in great profits if you run them efficiently and you make sure that your program is strong. So those are things that I learned as a teenager. And then I went on to law school and college and law school. And in that phase of my life, I really started to learn about the bigger picture of business, right? So I'm focused on small business. I'm looking locally, which all businesses have a local touch point, but I wasn't looking at it from a macroeconomic level. And so going to college, going to law school, I learned about business from that vantage point: markets, stock markets, understanding regulation, understanding different industries and sectors. And so that's where I started to understand, okay, how do millionaires become billionaires, right? And how do billionaires create, generational wealth for, multiple generations within their families? Oh, this is an aha moment about understanding that. And so I chose to go into law, and I started practicing mergers and acquisitions. And in the mergers and acquisitions experience, I learned about the value of growing your business in ways that are not always organic, right? A lot of times you look at growing businesses and says, I'm going to make this pie, and I'm going to sell this one pie, and I'm going to make a profit off of this, and I'm going to take the profits and come back and make more pies and sell more pies. And so that's a great way to start a business. But in my mergers and acquisitions experience, I learned that you can walk into a space and buy the pie business, right? And you can then buy another pie business, and then you can consolidate all the pie businesses and have a dominant market share in pie businesses, right? So that was something that I had experience in and was beginning to understand as a student, right, of mergers and acquisitions, of a practitioner in that space, as a legal advisor, as a business advisor. And so that experience of traveling around the world, living in London, living in the Middle East, living in Africa, that experience taught me about what is happening on a global scale with large business industries. How does government come into play? How does the business community come into play? And so that was, and how do markets and capital come into play, right? Where is capital? What's capital chasing? And so that was my experience as an M&A lawyer. And then I moved on to Wall Street. I moved on to working at a broker-dealer investment bank. And in that, I learned about the value of technology. And in that role at the investment bank broker-dealer, I was the assistant general counsel that was leveraging and working with the fintech arm of the business. And that fintech arm was it's not something that at the time was in the conversation, right? Fintech is now being discussed all the time. But 10 years ago, when I was working on this fintech business, it was something that was the cash cow of the business, right? But it wasn't always, it wasn't getting all of the accolades and the headlines, but the company was quietly making lots of money off the fintech business. And I said, okay, technology is the way. So for the past 10 years, I've been on my own as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, and I've taken everything in that experience of knowing myself, knowing the kind of business person I am, knowing what I've learned and how I can apply it. I've taken it to the small business sector. And I've taken to the small business sector in two ways. I work with small businesses directly. So I will work with a small business owner on their growth track. Like you students and like you entrepreneurs that are here right now, I would be able to, through my tools, be able to help you grow your business. My tools are available on winleyforsmall.com. And on winleyforsmall.com, you can go in and you can download tools, resources to grow your business. I also work with organizations and companies where small business is the customer. So for example, American Express. American Express has small businesses as customers. It wants to understand, American Express wants to understand and get insights on who the small business customer is. What are their desires? What are their aspirations? How can I sell to them? And so a company like American Express would contact me and I would help them through my understanding of small business, be able to speak to, message, market to their customer. So those are some of the touch points that I have to small business. On the corporate level, on the government agency level, governments have a lot of capital and resources for small businesses. They're interested in making sure that small businesses are thriving and successful. And so they also have a lot of programs on the government level, as well as companies where companies want to have small businesses as vendors or as customers. I work with them as well. And in this case, your college, right? Your college is invested in making sure that you all come out of college and you're successful, whether you are working at a corporation and whether you're entrepreneurial within that organization, or whether you're entrepreneurial and whether you come out of the into the world and you strike it out on your own. They want to make sure that you have the tools to be successful, because guess what? You are the college's greatest asset and greatest resource, right? You are the pride and joy of your college, and your ability to connect back, be successful, give back is also an important part of your college experience. So in knowing yourself, I think also as a business owner, I'll just share that you have to have a couple things to be a really great business owner. You have to have really great vision. And vision is about what you see in front of you and what you see beyond you, right? Your ability to have vision beyond what is looking you in the face. You have to be able to understand that there's something beyond the obvious. And that is something that comes with instincts. It comes with experience. It comes with, people call it gut. And, gut could be your soul, it could be your inner voice, but it's something that's telling you there's more to the story, right? And so having that vision is important. I also think you also have to have stamina. Being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, being the boss, doesn't mean that you are taking the longest nap. You're not sleeping your day away. You are making sure that the business is operating, that it's profitable, that your customers are happy, that your team is well resourced and have what they need. And so, and you're always, as a business owner, thinking, right? Your mind is always on. So you have to have stamina. You have to know what it takes to be a business owner. And I call it being a business athlete. And that's why I call my tools, I call them Winley, because I really want entrepreneurs to win in business. I want entrepreneurs and small businesses to walk into a deal, walk into a market, and be able to position themselves for a win. And there are ways to get there. So now that you know me, I was able to share a little bit about myself. I hope you're able to, as you are telling your story about you being a business athlete, you're able to share the things in your pathway. It may be a family experience. It may be a mentor. It may be this experience in college. You're going to have to tell people why you are a great business person and why they should listen to you and why they should follow your lead, because business is a lot about what you know, but it's also about the confidence in what you know. So the more confident you are in what you're saying, what you're doing, that confidence is going to bring about a win. And I'm a testament to that. So just want to share that with you. So the next piece I want to go over with you all is knowing the market. I just want to do an analogy about the market. I would say look at the world as a global marketplace, right? It's the entire world, all the continents, we're in a global marketplace. The way that the marketplace splits up is this: it breaks up by regions, right? So then you have this global marketplace that's split into regional marketplaces, right? So you have North America, you have South America, right? Those are the Americas, and they split those up into North America and South America, right? You have EMEA, right? You have Europe, Middle East, and Africa, right? They put that into a region. And then you have Asia, right? And so with that, that's the global marketplace split into regions. After you get to the marketplace split into regions, now you have to say, let's enter the marketplace, right? Let's think of the marketplace as like a basic flea market, right? It's a place where buying and selling is happening. There's stalls, people are in there, they're buying and selling everything. And within that flea market, the flea market is split up, right? That market, that region is split up into sectors, right? And sections. So there's a section in the market where people are buying food and beverage. There's a section in the market where people are buying oil and gas. There's a section in the market where people are buying healthcare and medicine. And there, all the sections are split up into sectors, right? There's automobile sector. There's, all kinds of sectors. And in those sections, people are buying and selling. Now that you go into the various sectors, you see that not everybody's buying and selling the same way. Some people are buying and selling in person. Some people are buying and selling online. So the behaviors and the experiences that people are expecting in each sector may be different. In some sectors, people may be expecting a lot of data and information. In some sectors, people may be expecting a feeling or an emotion or an attachment. And some people may be expecting, just a utility. Like I just give me what I want. I'm expecting a good price. And so understanding everything about a market is very important, because when you start your business is walking into a market, right? And so that market has a experience, it has a culture, it has a way of doing things. And so your success is your ability to go into that market and be able to speak to it and to resonate and to dominate within that market. And so that's the marketplace, right? So let's just talk about what's happening in the marketplace now. The marketplace has just had a major moment, right? It's like the lights went out, right? The pandemic happened, right? So the market, the entire global market, experienced the same thing at the same time. And so that's why everyone is so just in awe, right, of what has happened in this, hasn't happened in 100 years, is because it's something that now it's the market chatter. This is what's happening in the market. Every single market is talking about how is the pandemic impacting it. And that's something that sometimes you have a market and there may be a tsunami in that market. Well, that's happening in Asia. It didn't happen here. It may have a little bit of a reverberation for products and service that may come over, but it's not going to be the thing that is the dominant chatter. It's happening over in Asia. If something's happening in Europe, it's happening there. It may have some impact on what's happening in North America, but for the most part, it doesn't dominate the entire global conversation. So pandemic conversation now has got us all off kilter. And what's happening is the people that have been successful in the market have been able to build businesses, and they've already built businesses that were what we call crisis proof, right? They're online, they're digital, they already were printing money in this space. And all that the pandemic did was accelerate their success because everyone went online and they were already there. And so all of the social markets, we're on Zoom right now. Zoom has had outsized profits, right? We're here. I would have normally been kind of in Florida, in Fort Pierce with you right now, looking at you face to face, having a conversation, shaking your hand, letting you know you can do it in your face. And I can't do that. I'm here on Zoom. Although vaccinated, I still can't come see you and do what I would normally do with you. So that is something that has given Zoom, right, an outsized profit, right, for what it has already presented in terms of online communication, right? So those are things that when you're looking at the market, look at it by sector, look at it by events, look at the events that are happening in the market, because if you ever go to sec.gov and just pick out a couple of, public documents from companies, you will see that they discuss not just what their profits are, what their business is, but they talk about the market. They talk about risk factors. They talk about, in these very public documents, what's going on in the world that impacts their ability to meet the profit forecasts that they've promised. So now I'm talking about stock market, right? And I'm talking about Wall Street, but I'm also talking about small businesses being able to take all these lessons from those that are already well resourced and well funded and well capitalized with information and intelligence. It's about taking all of that and applying it to small business. And that's what I've done. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here, and I've spent my entire 10 plus years working on products and tools for small business that have insights from the larger players, because we can all learn from each other in this space. If a business has earned $100 million and I'm at zero, I want to understand, how did they do that, right? How did they get there? And there are some things that they've done that we can do too. And so and also there's things that we've done as small businesses that larger businesses are looking at us for as well. I'll give you an example, because we can learn both ways, right? So as a small business owner, I have always had a home office. I've always had a remote option for myself and for the people that I work with. I have an office, but I also have always been flexible in providing remote opportunities to work with people. That does not stop me from providing a great service. I've been able to learn how to work with a remote process from the very beginning of starting my company. It's not something new or novel to me. But larger corporations have always been trying to figure out, how can I get people to be, my team, to be productive in a remote scenario? Well, they can ask the small business community. We know we've been doing this before anyone has been thinking about it. So, so that we have already shown that as small businesses, we are agile, we are efficient, we know how to cut costs. We don't need to have a building that's $50,000 a month in rent to be able to deliver the services that we are providing. So those are things that small businesses have already, I think, from an innovation, from a behavior, from an advantage, we've been able to bring to the table. I do see there's some people joining. Welcome to this session. I'm just grateful to be able to speak to you about growing your business and becoming an entrepreneur. I was able to share some things about myself, about being a business owner and advising on many levels, also about knowing the market. And I would love to talk about now knowing your business. I have playbooks on winleyforsmall.com. They're free. You're able to go in and download PDFs to choose the playbooks you'd like to work on to grow your business. But I'd love to right now show you what's inside. So what's inside of the playbooks are some areas that I call, they're your business themes. So your business growth and scale playbooks are your advisory board, your investor and your partnership. Your business identification is your brands, your culture, your philanthropy. Your business development is your marketing, your communication, your top 10 customer and your public relations. Your business activation is your customer acquisition, your new market, your signature event, and your social media. Your business growth strategies are your innovation, your technology and platform, and your governance. And your business back office or your financial, accounting, legal, and intellectual property. These are the playbooks that if you go into these playbooks and you start filling out the information, learning about the value of those to your business, you will have a growth moment. And that's what this is about. So I'm happy to, if there's a way to see in the chat, I'm happy to see, are there any particular playbooks that anyone on this session would like me to go over? And I'll take note of them before I go through. We're not going to be able to go through all of them, but I will be back tomorrow evening to continue this conversation. But if there are any playbooks that you're interested in hearing about, I'm happy to go over them. And I'll just share with you these conversations around your business. I really believe that once you decide that you have a business idea and you start researching it and you start building around it, you'll be able to see in very short order what kind of traction you'll get, right? So I'd love to get a sense too of those who are in the room, what business ideas they have, because I'm happy to also talk through them with you. And I'll show you how these playbooks work in terms of being able to identify which playbooks might work for which idea you have, because they are harmonious in that the playbooks are harmonious in that what I'm doing with you as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, is I am pushing you through this experience to think outside of the box, to think bigger about where you play in the market, and also to think bigger about how you can get a larger return on the work that you're doing for your business. So I'll start, and when I hear about what playbooks you want to work on, I'm going to start with the advisory board one, because I think that the advisory board one is one that I feel like, you know, we do, but we can do better at. And I'll give you an example. So here you'll see that 86% of businesses create at least one advisory board, right? So that's a very high number, right? A very high number of businesses that create at least an advisory board. Creating an advisory board is very different than leveraging it, making sure that the advisory board is that you have action with them, is action oriented, making sure that you're able to continue and with your advisory board to help you reach your goals. So you may start your business and say, hey, I'd like to add Dr. Brown to my advisory board. And you say, hey, Dr. Brown, can you be in my advisory board? And he says, sure, no problem. And I'm not sure if that's how he talks, but I'm going to say, he says, sure, no problem. I'll join your advisory board. I believe in you and I know you'll be a success. You invite Dr. Brown to be in your advisory board. He says yes, and that's January, right? You come back to January. And you don't reach out to Dr. Brown until June. Again, like you went from January, he said, I'll be on your advisory board. You get to June and you're just now reaching out because you're in a crisis. Well, guess what? You could have been reaching out to Dr. Brown once a month with an update of where you are in your business, what your desires are, what connections you're looking to achieve, what networks you're trying to get into, what information you're looking to gather. You could have had Dr. Brown with you from January, February, March, and April, and May. And you would have had a stronger relationship with Dr. Brown. And by the time the crisis hit in June 1, the crisis might not have even hit in June because you've had Dr. Brown there the whole time. But by the time the crisis comes, Dr. Brown now says, okay, I understand. He's already plugged in, right? So having an advisory board is important, but making sure that you win with your advisory board is another story. And I do find that it's also with mentors. People reach out to mentors, or they reach out to people to help sponsor them or be a part of something what they're doing, and you never hear from the person again. People reach out to me all the time, and they say, um, can I help you? Can I intern with you? Can I be a part of what you're doing? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. And the follow up doesn't happen. And so in your business, you always want to be the one to follow up. You always want to be the one that if someone as esteemed as Dr. Brown says, yes, I will be on your advisory board, you leverage it and you make sure that you make the most of the experience, and it will improve your business. It's a business growth move. So here are some AllStar plays. Um, you know, some of the AllStar plays that we have around advisory boards are, identify industry experts, right? So I'm a part of, and I'm an advisor on a few startups, right? So one of the startups I'm an advisor on is an esports startup, and it's esports and it's esports tournaments. And I don't play. I'm not an esports person. I'm not an esports industry expert. But what I am is I know how to fundraise. I know how to position for fundraising for startup capital. I'm an attorney. I'm able to provide confidence in the cap table, right, and in the financial model. So that's why I'm there. I'm in that space, not because I'm the best esports player and I know how to play FIFA 2021 or NBA 2K. I'm not there for that. That's for my nephew. He can do that stuff. He can come and talk about how they should redesign things and make things more agile and all that good stuff. I'm there for the part that I'm there for. So also identify, the various industry experts that need to be a part of what you're doing and bring them to the table. And research your connections to industry experts, right? So the great thing about this day and age, and LinkedIn, I think, is just one of the most genius. You can research someone on LinkedIn and find out how many connections you are away from them. You might be 2 connections away from someone, or 3 connections, or 1 connection, and that shows you, your degree, degrees of separation, right? It's the degrees of separation right there on LinkedIn. It shows you, I need to get to, President Obama. How many degrees of separation do I have between me and President Obama? Oh, I have 1. Okay, that I have a higher chance of getting to him because maybe I can get connected through his organization, or through the things that he's working on. So those are things that you can research, and then you can speak with the person that is the connection to make sure you can position yourself for the best introduction to grow your business. Seeking out diverse experts. So this is something that I've always just believed in the value of having diverse thinkers at the table. It doesn't always, and for some reason, we're in this day and age, organizations and corporations are now having aha moments about the value of having a woman on the team or having a person of color on the team. No, like, of course you should. Of course you should have many different types of people with different backgrounds, experience. You should have advisors that reflect your consumer base. You should have advisors that are well connected. So all of those things are important. You should definitely look for diversity on all different levels, diversity of experience, diversity of backgrounds and ethnicity, of gender, of industry, of also just in terms of generation, right? You should have a Gen Z and an XY right at the table. Have that generation. Also have a boomer. Have a wise, gray-haired person on there because they've seen a lot. They know a lot. Make sure that you have a nice diversity of an advisory board, and all of that is going to help you be able to develop and make sure that your business is positioned and ready for the market, right? And I just have a couple of things that create a letter of request and draft an agreement for your advisory board. In some cases, when you have an advisor, it's customary to offer a percentage of your startup It may be anywhere from 0.2% to 2% to 5%. I mean, it could range based upon what your advisor is bringing to the table. You do have advisors that will bring outsized deals to the table. And so they may have a different level of compensation. And then I say meet with your board regularly. I mean, that same analogy with having Dr. Brown on your board. Make sure that you don't ask him to come in January, you don't speak to him till June. That's going to be just, don't do that. Okay, so that's the advisory board. I'm happy to hear if anyone else wants to check out some of these plays. Here we have the Investor Playbook. That's something that I would say people also, we should get stronger in leveraging the Investor Playbook. For some reason, there is just a strong sense that you could only build your business with your own paycheck, and that's not always the case. It is a way to grow your business, to build your business. Is kind of, I took my salary and I made savings, and I took my savings and I invested in my business. Or some people have sold their houses and invested in their business, and they've done all these things and lived out of cars and to fuel their business. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can grow your business with other people's money, right? You can grow your business with investors, but it's about positioning yourself to investors. It's about giving the investor confidence that is a risk they should take. And I'll just give you all a tidbit. So I've raised money with investors. I've had investors say to me, I've made 100 bets and one of them has given me fruit. And so I'm of the spirit, whether you're the one or whether you're the 99, go be part of the 100 within that conversation. Be a part of the 100 that's getting that capital, whether you're the one that bears the fruit or you're the one that gets the capital, so that you can work on your idea and you can get yourself to a place where you can pivot and grow your business. So that's my spirit around having an investor at the table. And a thing about the investor that I like is when you are positioning yourself for an investor, and investors can be very tough. What they do is they toughen up your business. So whether you actually get capital or not, whether you actually go to the bank and get the loan or not, you are going to go through a very tough process. Your business is going to be assessed, analyzed. You're going to be asked questions. There's going to be questions about the assumptions that you're making about your market. There's going to be questions about your products, your operations, your team. All those things are necessary. Kick the tires, right? Activities by business owners, by investors that are going to give you capital. So if they are going through that process, that means that you're going through the process on the other side and you're making your business stronger. And I do like the fact that you put yourself to the test of an investor playbook, because you are your company's first investor. And because you are your company's first investor, you have to analyze your business for yourself. Is this something that you should be spending 24 hours on? Is this something that when you put your hard-earned money into, it's going to generate what kind of return? Ask yourself that, because you're your first investor. And when you analyze your business like that, you say to yourself, this business has challenges. It needs these things to be profitable. You start pushing yourself out of your self-love, out of your idea of love of your company, and you start asking yourself the hard questions that others would ask you. And that's something that the Investor Playbook does to your growth experience. Let the critique happen, let the analyzation happen. And if you can't do it yourself, having someone outside do it will train you how to become a better analyzer of your own business and the decisions that you're making. Okay, so that's why I really like this playbook. Whether you get an investor or not, you're your first investor, and you owe it to yourself to know whether your business can be profitable. Because if it can't be profitable, then you can figure out another way to be profitable, and also work and tinker on this idea as well. And I just wanted to just share with you too. I've done work with family offices. And if anyone knows what a family office is, a family office is basically the office of a family that has significant wealth, right? And so a family office, you could be a first generation family office, you could be a seventh generation family office. They're all about making sure that they are kind of making sure their wealth will flow to their next generations. And I bring this to your attention because family offices, the first generation wealth is called the origin wealth, right? It's where the wealth generates. So my wealth may generate from my pie business. I might be the queen of pies, and I have generated wealth that can sustain the next 7 to 10 generations, right? Very well beyond that, right? But after I have built that origin wealth, I now have the opportunity to take the wealth that came from that origin and invest in other things. So I might go from being the pie business, queen of pie, to now being a movie maker and build, scripts and films and doing that in media. A lot of times as business owners, we look at the films and the scripts business as the place we want to start. Sometimes you have to figure out where is your origin of wealth going to come from? Where is that origin business? What is that type of business that's going to get you there? And so, I have colleagues of mine, they say, look, the big basketball stadium where everyone's there, everyone's focused on, getting a contract for the liquor or getting contract for the concessions. My colleagues are saying, give me the contract for the straws. I will sell the straws. I will sell the napkins. I don't care if my wealth comes from that. I don't need to be on the cover of Forbes because I'm doing the thing has the brightest lights at the stadium. I just want to do that piece of it. And so that is a lesson in being okay with figuring out how to build wealth and how to build a business that is an engine, a fuel for any of the other projects or ideas or wealth opportunities you may have. So I always bring that as an opportunity to say, look, I've been in these spaces. I've been with billionaires. I've been with multimillionaires. I see how they think. I see how, we can learn from that mindset of just build your business. Just build something that can last. And then from that origin, there's something that can be leveraged off of that origin, right? Take care of your family, take care of yourself, make sure that you're not living out of a car. You don't have to have that kind of story. I don't want to see that in you. That's not what we're doing. We're not doing it that way. We have too much here. We have too much privilege in our resources to not be able to figure out how to build a great and solid business. So I spend a lot of time here, but I'm really passionate about just sharing where the markets are and where we all fit in and how we can go in and we can disrupt things and be a part of innovation. And we could also utilize our creativity to become what we're supposed to be here on this planet. So I'm looking at the time. We have about 14 minutes. I've gone over 2 of the playbooks. Hope you all are enjoying this. I'm happy to open up for some questions. I'm also happy to go to another playbook because you see I get fired up on one playbook. I'm all over it because there's so much that's here because I've seen a lot. I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in Lagos, Nigeria. I spent some time there 2 years ago, and it was my first time to the continent. And when I came back from that experience, I got even more fired up because I don't know about anyone else on this call, but I've never lived in an emerging market. I've only studied it. I've only read The Economist and watched BBC and watched the news to see how people are living in emerging markets and what their experience is. And having lived there, I took a lot of notes. And the notes that I will give the students that are on this call is, in this conversation, is we are in America, we are hustling backwards. We are moving, we think we're moving forward in business, but we're not moving at the pace that we have the opportunity to move in. And I say this because when we are having conversations with each other, like when you're having conversations with your peers, or you're having conversations around your business, that is an opportunity to have a transaction. We do more talking than transacting. It behooves us to figure out how to transact with each other. It has to be a give and take. There's conversations around how much wealth, how much buying power people of color have, how much buying power women have, how much buying power, all that buying power. If we can't transact with each other, then it's not power. So we have to figure out, as a small business community, how to empower each other and not just set up your business so that you can be in your own island. It's about setting up your business so that you can be a transaction engine. You can figure out how to create lots of waves and throughout the business community. And that is something that we all can get better at as a small business community. The fact that 100,000 businesses failed in 2020, the fact that businesses are still closing to this day is an atrocity. That means that we're not buying local. That means that we're not intentional about where we're spending our money. That means that we have to figure out how to become a business community that once you, as a student, start a business, we need you to be a success. That is the goal. The goal is you winning, because when you win as a business owner, the community wins. And that's something that we all have to, I think, invest in. And I'm invested here at Winley. So winleyforsmall.com, check our playbooks out. I'm always just here to be a resource and happy to keep you on your entrepreneurial path. It is not going to be easy, but it is going to be rewarding. And you're going to be a part of making sure that the rest of the business community is strong because you're strong. And that's what's most important. So like I said, I'm happy to take some questions. We have about another 10 minutes and I'm open.
Nicole, this is just awesome. I mean, you're dropping nuggets. I'm taking notes. You probably see my head bobbing back and forth trying to put notes down. But I was interested to hear when you were talking about the origin wealth, and I know a lot of startup, and I say young entrepreneurs, but I'm not talking about chronological age of the person, but more of just in their journey. I notice a lot of entrepreneurs try to catch that next big thing rather than doing something that they're passionate about and getting into an area that their skill, their passion, and their energy aligns with fixing or supporting a need. Can you talk a little bit about that, like from your experience when you're seeing people start a company or start like that, or origin wealth? It just caught my attention when you said that. It always seems like I see someone starts the pie business because grandma was good at making pies. And then maybe their kid isn't good at pies or doesn't like pies, but the kid wants to go into some other area. Can you kind of talk about just how the mindset should be to start up, and then how to connect that to an investor or to get funds for investors?
Yes, I mean, you're right in terms of kind of digging into this a little bit more and the mindset around it. I will say that I've studied kind of the family business, right, as a sector, right, and so we're all human, right? We're all human, and so you have family dynamics within that, right? You have the family that has a few children, and one child goes off and does their own thing, and then one child says, oh, I can't do what I want to do. I have to take care of this family business. And they see the family business as a burden, right? And so that's something that I think has created a issue in terms of making sure that family businesses thrive. But I will say in that scenario, the family business has to be strong for it not to have to rely on the blood, sweat, and tears of the next generation. So when you're building the family business and grandma is in there and she's making the pies, when she passes it down, it's not so that the kids are making the pies too. There has to be a planning where the pies are now being made right in an industrial kitchen with a team, with with shipping, and like it has to be kind of set up for it to become a sustainable business that has strong operating capacity. So a lot of kids don't want to go in to the family business when the family business is not operating right at its highest level, right? So it doesn't become a wealth engine, it becomes another a work engine. So I would say that. But I would say that one of my colleagues, he always says this. He says, people want dessert first, right? They want dessert first. They don't, before you give them the medicine, they want dessert. And so I always think about that from the perspective of we're all human. We all want to be satisfied creatively. But at some point, that medicine is how do you just put your head down, and are you going to be the generation that does that, right? So are you going to be the first generation wealth? That first generation wealth is getting dirty, right? They're in the hardest of deals. They're doing things that's not sexy. They're doing infrastructure projects. They're doing things that have huge wealth, but it's not glamorous. It's not Instagram, worthy, right? To post. But someone has to say to themselves, I am going to create the first level of wealth for my generation. And it has to be just a mindset that you are willing to do anything that it makes sense for the markets right now. And I would think, for example, the pandemic, what are the opportunities right now, in this moment of the pandemic? What's the opportunities around COVID testing and tracking and monitoring? Who got all those contracts? I mean, where are we? And so I also think about our connection to governments, our connection to government players, because a lot of wealth is generated because there was an opening through a government sector. And so doing business with the government also is something that is a part of, if you read a lot of stories about those people who have a lot of wealth, origin wealth, there was always government support, an opportunity, capital. There was always something there where the government had their hand in it. And I would say that don't be afraid to connect up to your government officials, making sure that you are in the know around projects and things happening and plans. And those are things that are a part of people having an eye on the market. They can have an eye on the market through their government relations. And so I do have a government playbook. Let me see if I can find it. And so, yeah, the government playbook is definitely one that I advocate for, because one, the government is the largest buyer of goods and services in the United States. So they also invest in businesses as well through their own channels. And let me see if I can find the government playbook. Let's see. Here we go. So for government, the government playbook, the thing that I would take away from here is research opportunities to contract with the government on a federal, national, and local level. connect to government-sponsored databases, and consider being certified. Those are some ways to just start getting into the government network in terms of contracting, getting deals, getting projects, and understanding what the government is spending on. So, that's something that I would look into. But also, the government has lots of grants as well, where they will fund innovation. So, in terms of if they have like an open source space where there's that you can utilize some of their technology or insights or information to leverage for your company, because they're like, we created this, it helped the night goggles vision for our army or military, and we have this thing and we're putting it into an open source and anyone can use it. You can license it and use it, and you can go out and build something that has a commercial viability. And why is the government interested in that? Well, they want to have strong businesses because they want to have strong taxation and employees and jobs. So just understanding what the government can do in terms of your origin wealth and kind of getting back to origin wealth. I would say it's really just studying how did the wealthy become wealthy, and how did people really kind of pick that thing. I would say, yeah, we have within our community, small business community, just a lot of creativity. I'm always thinking about, okay, beyond being creative, how do you own your creativity? How do you leverage your creativity? How do you take your creativity and engage other creatives so they could be a part of what you're doing? It's not just about being talented. It's about figuring out how to turn talent into transactions. That's what you really have to figure out. You can be the best ball player in the world, but there's still an owner of the team, right? There's still an owner of the network, right? That the games are being played on. You can have a role in any of those areas. You don't have to be the one bouncing the basketball. You can have a role in the wealth cycle of that experience. So I would just say think about, like you said, what you're good at. But in going back to grandma's pies, I would say also, if your grandmother has created a pie business and it's not kind of where it could be to generate wealth, take it on as a project, right? To see if you can generate it. Take on the recipe and figure out whether there's an IP move, intellectual property move. Take it on to see if there is a way to get a distribution in a larger retail sector. Like, figure out how to take that, and you already have a head start, right? So if you have a head start, and I'm always for head starts, if you have the head start, what's the why not try to figure out with less period of time? Because it takes a good 5 to 10 years to really get into your business, even if you are a startup, or it takes time. This is not it takes 10 years to be an overnight success, right? It's not gonna, you're not gonna see something and say, okay, I'm rich in a year. That is nobody's story. So I think that with that, if you have a head start, take the head start and figure out how you can leverage it. And that would be my advice to anyone that was in a family business where there was some origin wealth possibility there. I would say take the opportunity to just try to see if you can turn it into something with the new information you have, with the digital savvy you have. Also, if you like doing things that are more marketing, more creative, more branding, bring that to the table and make that a part of the origin wealth component that is already at your hands. Tell your story. We have a brand playbook around telling your story and why that's important, and how that can be a part of a scalable moment for a company. So hope that answered your question. We went many directions, but I hope that it got to the point of just what are some options, right, for for the young people here.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. I think you gave us a lot, and it's and we can tell your passion on it. And honestly, this is like a master class of business and how you go from point A to point, A to Z basically. Starless, I don't know if you want to say anything to jump in, but I know we're pretty much wrapping up our hour. With it.
Yeah, I'm just writing notes, man. You gotta see my paper here. I'm taking notes. So all I can say is wow. I mean the information I know we have you until 7 o'clock. Nicole will be back again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. We'll be able to spend another hour with her, and I'll say with you tomorrow. And with that, I'll save my questions for that time. But with that being said, I would say that first of all, I'm honored to have you, and this was an amazing session. The information was valuable. I know I got a lot out of it, and I got to learn myself and learn a little more about my business. I need to know them, right? But excellent. I would really appreciate it. I will open it up to see, does anybody else have any questions? I know we have a few people on, but we'll just give about 20 seconds of silence, or if anybody speaks up, anybody have any questions?
And Nicole, we did have a couple of people who were on, and they apologized. They were putting their notes in the screen on the side while you were talking. They'll be back on tomorrow. And we also have a couple of people who, for some reason, couldn't make it today. They want to watch the recording, and they'll try to jump on tomorrow too.
Awesome. Thank you. I look forward to just continuing to share and feed into this small business community and entrepreneurs. I'm just happy to be here and happy to show up tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to the session tomorrow and hopefully future sessions as well. But thank you so much again. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye.